The screen door doesn't slam the way it used to. The spring gave out years ago, so now it just hangs there, crooked and tired, like me. My name is Margaret, but everyone used to call me Maggie. I'm 93 years old, and I've been sitting in this same wooden rocker on this same wraparound porch for over 40 years, waiting for a boy who was never coming back. The floorboards beneath my feet are soft with rot, soft as the memories that play behind my eyes every single day. The afternoon sun is fading now, casting long shadows across the empty street, and somewhere in the distance I can hear the whistle of a train, a sound that still makes my heart lurch in my chest after all these decades. You see that crack in the porch rail? The one I've stared at through 1,000 sunsets? My son Thomas put his hand right there, on that very spot, on the last day I ever saw him alive. And I've never told a living soul what really happened that afternoon. Until now. It was the summer of 1968. I remember because the whole country was on fire that year. The war, the protests, the assassinations. But here in Millbrook, a sleepy little town in upstate New York, nothing much ever changed. We had one main street with a hardware store, a diner, a five and dime, and the old train station that still ran the line down to New York City twice a day. The elm trees along our street were still healthy then, before the blight took them, forming a green tunnel that made everything feel peaceful and shaded. Our house was a modest white clapboard with blue shutters, the one my husband Frank built with his own 2 hands before he passed from a heart attack in '62. After he died, it was just me and Thomas, my boy, my only child. He was 19 that summer, tall and lean like his father, with the same easy smile and the same restless energy that never let him sit still. Thomas worked at the hardware store on Main Street, saving up money for reasons he never fully explained. He was a good boy. He went to church with me every Sunday. He always tipped his hat to the ladies in town, and he never talked back. But that summer, something had changed in him. He'd sit on this very porch at night, staring out at the darkness, his jaw set tight. I'd bring him lemonade and try to draw him out, but he'd just pat my hand and say, "I'm fine, ma, just thinking." I didn't push. That's my one regret in life. I never pushed. I let him keep his secrets, and those secrets swallowed him whole. The morning of July 16th started like any other. I woke to the sound of the screen door banging. Thomas was already up, whistling some tune I didn't recognize, making coffee in the kitchen. The smell of it drifted up the stairs, mixing with the scent of honeysuckle from the vine climbing the porch rail. I remember putting on my blue house dress with the little white flowers, the one Frank always liked. I ran a brush through my gray-streaked hair and looked at myself in the mirror. 63 years old that summer, I felt older. The lines on my face seemed deeper, the shadows under my eyes darker. Thomas had been so quiet lately, and it worried me the way a mother worries, a low, constant hum of anxiety that never quite goes away. When I came downstairs, he had breakfast ready. Toast and scrambled eggs, my plate already set at the table. He was standing by the window, looking out at the yard, his back to me. "Morning, Ma," he said without turning around. His voice sounded strange, thick, like he had a cold. I sat down and he joined me, but he barely touched his food. He just pushed his eggs around the plate with his fork. "You feeling all right, honey?" I asked. He nodded, still not meeting my eyes. "Just tired. Didn't sleep too good. You want me to make you some tea, settle your stomach?" He finally looked at me then, and his eyes, Lord, I'll never forget his eyes that morning. They were so sad, so full of something I couldn't name. "No, Ma, I'm fine. Finish your breakfast. We gotta get going soon." "Going where?" "I gotta run an errand in Hudson. Thought you might like to come along for the ride. Get you out of the house for a while." Hudson was the next town over, about 20 miles. We didn't go often. Gas was precious, and the old pickup truck wasn't reliable for long trips. But the thought of a drive with my boy, just the two of us like the old days, warmed my heart. I finished my breakfast and went to get my good purse, the brown leather one Frank bought me for our anniversary. I put on my church hat, the one with the little net veil, because that's what ladies did when they went out. I wanted to look nice for my son. The truck was parked out front, the old Ford with the rusted tailgate. Thomas helped me up into the passenger seat, his hand steady on my elbow. He walked around and got behind the wheel, and for a moment he just sat there, gripping the steering wheel so tight his knuckles went white. He was staring straight ahead at the empty street, at the elm trees swaying in the summer breeze. A robin was singing somewhere close by. The world felt so ordinary, so peaceful. "Thomas," I said, "you sure you're okay?" He blinked, shook his head slightly, and forced a smile. "Yeah, Ma, I'm okay. Let's go." We drove through town, past the diner where Old Man Peterson was sweeping the sidewalk, past the church where the stained glass windows caught the morning sun. Mrs. Higgins was hanging laundry in her yard and waved as we passed. I waved back. Thomas drove slowly, carefully, like he was memorizing every street, every house, every face. When we reached the edge of town where the road curves past Miller's Pond, he actually slowed down and stopped for a moment. He just sat there, looking at the water, the cattails, the dragonflies skimming the surface. I brought him to that pond 1,000 times when he was little, taught him how to fish there with a cane pole and a can of worms. "Remember when I caught that snapping turtle, Ma?" he said softly. I laughed. "Lord, yes. Scared me half to death. You wanted to keep it as a pet." He smiled, a real smile this time. "You let me keep it in the wash tub for 3 days, until it tried to bite the mailman." We both laughed, and for a moment everything felt right, felt normal. Then he put the truck back in gear and we kept driving. Hudson was busier than Millbrook. More cars on the streets, more people walking the sidewalks. Thomas parked outside the Five and Dime and turned to me. "I gotta go see someone, Ma. Won't take long. You mind waiting here?" "Of course not, honey. Take your time." He looked at me then, really looked at me, like he was trying to burn my face into his memory. He reached out and touched my cheek, his hand warm and rough from work. "You're a good mother, Maggie," he said. He hardly ever called me Maggie. Everyone else did, but to him, I was always Ma. That detail stuck with me later. The way he said my name like I was someone else, someone he was saying goodbye to. He got out of the truck and walked away. I watched him go, tall and straight, his brown hair ruffled by the breeze. He turned the corner and disappeared, and that was it. That was the last time I saw my son. I waited 10 minutes, 20, an hour. The sun climbed higher and the truck got hot, so I rolled down the window. I watched people come and go from the Five and Dime, women with shopping bags, kids with ice cream cones. I waited 2 hours, 3. My heart started beating funny, that fluttery feeling you get when you know something's wrong but you won't let yourself admit it. I got out of the truck and walked to the corner where he'd disappeared. I looked up and down the street. No Thomas. I went into the Five and Dime, asked the clerk if he'd seen a tall young man. He shrugged. I walked to the diner, to the gas station, to the bus depot. No one had seen him. I waited until dark. The streetlights came on, buzzing and flickering. A policeman found me sitting on a bench outside the Five and Dime, crying. He drove me to the station, let me file a report. They asked questions I couldn't answer. Did he have friends in Hudson? Was he upset about anything? Had he talked about leaving? No. I didn't know anything. I was just his mother, and I didn't know my own son. They drove me home that night. I sat in this rocker right here and waited for the phone to ring. It didn't. Days passed, weeks, months. I went to the police station every week until they stopped letting me in. I put up flyers with his picture, the one from his high school graduation, that handsome face in his Sunday suit. I called hospitals, morgues, anywhere a lost boy might turn up. Nothing. He had vanished like smoke, like a dream you can't quite remember when you wake up. The years passed, the town changed, the elm trees died and were cut down, the hardware store closed, the Five and Dime became a video store, then a nail salon, then sat empty. People stopped asking about Thomas. They'd see me on the porch and just wave or cross the street to avoid me. I became the town ghost, the old woman waiting for someone who was never coming back. I kept his room exactly as he left it. The bed made, his baseball glove on the dresser, the model airplane he was building still hanging from the ceiling by fishing line. I'd go in there sometimes and just sit on his bed, holding his pillow, breathing in the scent that faded a little more every year until it was gone completely. I stopped expecting him to come back a long time ago, but I never stopped hoping. Hope is a cruel thing, you know. It doesn't die when it should, it just keeps burning. A tiny flame that won't go out no matter how much time and grief you throw at it. I'd see a young man in town, tall with brown hair, and my heart would stop for a beat before I realized it wasn't him. I'd hear footsteps on the porch and my hands would start shaking. Every time the phone rang, every time a car slowed down on the street, every time the train whistle blew, I'd think, maybe this is it. Maybe he's come home. Last week, I got a letter. A real letter in a cream-colored envelope with a return address I didn't recognize. My hands shook so bad I could barely open it. Inside was a photograph, old and faded, and a handwritten note on thin paper. The photograph showed a woman, maybe 60 years old, with gray hair and kind eyes, standing next to a gravestone. The gravestone said, Thomas Edward Kincaid, 1949-1968. Beloved father, forever in our hearts. The letter was from his daughter, my granddaughter, a child I never knew existed. She wrote that she'd been going through her mother's things after she passed and found an old letter from Thomas, written the day he left Millbrook. In it, he told her mother, a girl he'd met the summer before, a waitress in Hudson, that he was coming to marry her, that he couldn't tell me because he knew I'd try to stop him. He was 19, she was 18. They had a plan, a life, a future. But Thomas never made it to her. The letter she received 3 days later wasn't from him. It was from a hospital in a town I'd never heard of. He'd been in a car accident that very afternoon, not 2 hours after he left me sitting in that truck. A truck ran a red light, hit him as he was walking to her apartment. He died on the operating table. No identification in his pockets except that letter he was carrying, the one addressed to her. They buried him in a cemetery near the hospital, a pauper's grave because no one came forward to claim him. She was too young, too scared, too ashamed to contact me. She carried the secret for 55 years. Then she told her daughter on her deathbed, my son didn't abandon me. He didn't run away to start a new life. He was lying in an unmarked grave 3 towns over for all these decades, his bones mixing with the soil of a place he never meant to stay. And I was here, on this porch, waiting for a ghost that was already waiting for me. The train whistle blows again, distant and mournful. The evening wind picks up, rustling the leaves of the maple tree he climbed as a boy. I look at the crack in the porch rail where his hand last rested. I think of the daughter I'll never hold, the grandchildren I'll never rock on this porch. I think of the life that could have been, the laughter that should have filled this empty house. The lesson? There is no lesson. Only the terrible weight of what might have been. Only the knowledge that love doesn't end, even when everything else does. Thomas has been gone 55 years, but I feel him here in the creak of these floorboards, in the evening light, in the beating of my own tired heart. I'll be joining him soon. And for the first time in all these years, I'm not waiting anymore. I'm just going home.